Welcome back to the Lecker Bites podcast. Here is Marcus, the founder of Lecker. This episode is going to be about our new recyclable plastic packaging. We just changed for our energy bar and energy bite the packaging from bio-based compostable packaging to recyclable plastic packaging. And you might wonder why, and you might wonder what is it going on here. And instead of me sitting here and kind of, selling why we have been doing this change, I thought let's feed some AI with the latest research on this topic and let those two people talk about it. So, without further ado, I'm very happy to present Anne and Tom, how I call them, our two AI experts on this packaging topic, and they're going to take you through the topic of recycling, what's good, what's bad, why compostability is good and is bad. Enjoy this conversation with Anne and Tom.
All right, so you want to make eco-conscious snack choices, but you're not sure if Lecker wrappers are as good for the planet as they seem.
It's a great question.
So we dug into the research.
Yep, we got Lecker's own documentation plus a whole stack of research articles.
Our mission today is to figure out what the science actually says.
Yeah, and you might be surprised to learn that it gets pretty complicated.
Right. I was thinking, okay, paper versus plastic, bio-based versus whatever.
Yeah.
Turns out it's way more complex than that.
Absolutely.
So Lecker says right off the bat that their wrappers are made of this thing called
monomaterial polypropylene.
Monomaterial.
Polypropylene, or PP for short.
PP, got it.
Basically, it's just a single layer of that specific plastic.
So that means no weird layers that make it hard to recycle?
That's exactly what it means.
And like some of those other snack bags, you know what I mean? Where you have to peel them apart.
Yeah.
And it's never quite clear what goes where.
It can get messy.
Okay, so single layer, that's good.
Good for recycling, for sure.
What does it mean?
The whole thing is 100% recyclable.
You just toss the whole thing in the bin?
Yep, no separating, no fuss.
Okay, that's definitely a point for Lecker. Plus, they say that using PP this way actually uses less energy and resources.
During production.
Yeah, than other plastics or even compostable materials.
Now that's where it gets interesting.
Is that even possible?
Well, to figure that out, we need to look at something called a life cycle assessment, or LCA.
LCA.
Think of it like an environmental report card for the product.
Okay.
From its creation to its disposal.
So it's not just about what it's made of, but also like
the whole journey.
How it's made, how it's used, and then what happens to it afterward.
Exactly, you got it.
So did the research team actually do an LCA for Lecker wrappers specifically?
Not specifically for Lecker, no.
Okay.
The research we reviewed actually analyzed 89 different LCA studies.
Wow.
On all kinds of materials.
Gee, nice.
50 of them were on bio-based polymers.
Okay.
And 39 on fossil fuel-based ones.
All right, so all different kinds of materials.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The results were all over the place.
Really?
Even when you compare the same material.
So two companies could use the same material, say like recycled cardboard.
Right.
But one could be way better for the environment.
Exactly. There's no single eco-champion material. It all comes down to the specifics of how it's produced.
So is this idea that bio-based equals better just totally wrong then?
Well, the research actually debunks that myth.
Okay.
When they compared bio-based and fossil-based polymers across a whole bunch of environmental impacts like greenhouse gas emissions, acidification toxicity.
Okay.
The results were a mixed bag.
So some bio-based materials might actually be worse for the environment?
It's not as simple as just looking at the label.
Right, because it might say plant-based or something.
Yeah.
But you don't really know the whole story.
Exactly. Got to dig a little deeper.
Okay, so even though Leck is using this recyclable PP, we can't just say it's better or worse than something else.
Without knowing more about how it's all produced.
Right, like how they make it.
Yep.
And then there's this whole other thing. How the material gets disposed of at the end of its life.
Oh, that's huge.
So even if Lecker's wrapper is designed to be recycled, what if it ends up in a landfill?
That totally changes things.
How should we do then?
Well, it's crucial to find out how your local recycling system handles polypropylene.
So, like...
Do they actually recycle it properly?
Okay.
Because if they don't, that really impacts the whole environmental equation.
So basically there's no easy answer here.
Nope. It's complicated.
But going back to Lecker, What does all this research actually tell us about their choice of using PP for their wrappers?
Well, to really compare Leica's PP wrapper to other options, we need an LCA that was specifically focused on those materials and Leica's own production process.
Right.
Unfortunately, the research we have doesn't give us that head-to-head comparison.
So we don't have all the answers yet.
Not quite.
But we do know that they're using recyclable PP. And they're aiming to use less resources in production.
At least that's what they say.
So that's going to count for something, right?
It definitely does.
But it also shows a bigger problem with how we evaluate the environmental impact of products in general.
Yeah, it can be really tough to find clear, comparable data.
Right, and that makes it hard for consumers to make good decisions.
Exactly.
It's like I'm trying to do the right thing, but there's just not enough information out there.
It can be frustrating.
So how do we fix that?
Well, the authors of this study we looked at actually have a suggestion.
Okay, what is it?
They say that we need wider adoption of the European Union's Product Environmental Footprint Standards.
Product Environmental Footprint Standards.
Or PEF for short.
PEF. Okay, tell me more about that.
Basically, PEF standards give you a more rigorous and standardized way to conduct LCAs.
Got it.
So if more companies use these standards, we could get much clearer results. And you could compare different products and materials much more easily.
So instead of trying to figure out all these different studies with different methods, we'd have a standardized system that makes it easier to compare apples to apples.
Right. I like that.
It would give consumers like you the power to make truly informed decisions.
Based on good data.
Exactly.
Okay. So we've established that evaluating the environmental impact of a material, it's way more complicated than I initially thought.
Definitely.
There's no easy answer.
Nope.
But this whole deep dive is giving me a lot to think about.
It's definitely food for thought.
All right, so we know there's no magic material.
Nope.
And even those eco-friendly options can have some hidden costs.
True.
So where do we go from here?
It's a great question.
What can we actually do to make a difference when it comes to packaging?
Well, that's something we'll dive into after a quick break.
Stay tuned. Okay, so it's not as simple as just swapping out one material for another.
We really need to think bigger picture. You know, like the whole system.
I couldn't agree more, and that requires a deeper level of engagement from everybody involved.
Consumers, manufacturers.
Policymakers, we all have a role to play.
So for someone like me, or, you know, you, our listener, who's just trying to make good choices at the grocery store.
Right.
What does all this actually mean?
It means being an informed consumer.
Okay.
And not being afraid to ask questions.
So like looking beyond the label.
Exactly. Don't just take those slogans at face value.
Right.
Dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
What's the company's philosophy on sustainability?
Yeah.
Are they transparent about their production process?
Okay.
About the environmental impact of their products?
I actually love that idea of just reaching out to companies and asking those tough questions.
Yeah.
I feel like we forget sometimes that we have that power as consumers.
You absolutely do. And remember, even small actions can have a ripple effect.
Right.
Like choosing products with recyclable packaging. Supporting companies that prioritize sustainability. Properly disposing of waste.
It all adds up.
It all makes a difference.
It's like voting with your wallet.
Right, exactly. You're sending a message.
That you care about these issues.
And speaking of sending messages.
Yeah.
Imagine if Leica actually did a wrapper-specific LCA.
Oh, that would be awesome.
It would be a powerful demonstration of their commitment to transparency and sustainability.
Yeah. They could compare their polypropylene wrapper
to all the alternatives.
Right, like to those bio-based options that we were talking about.
Exactly.
And then just share those findings publicly.
It would be a game changer.
Yeah.
Not only would it give consumers valuable information.
Right.
But it could also set a new standard for the industry.
Oh, totally. Other companies might feel pressured to do the same thing.
Exactly.
I love that. A win for everyone.
All right, so while we wait for Leica to hopefully take up that challenge.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some things our listeners can do right now to reduce their packaging footprint.
Because sometimes waiting for companies or governments to make big changes, it can be so frustrating.
It can be. You want to take matters into your own hands.
So what are some simple steps we can take?
To reduce our reliance on single-use packaging.
For starters, embrace the power of reusable containers.
Yes. Bring your own containers to the grocery store.
Okay.
For bulk items. Pack your lunch in reusable containers instead of those disposable bags.
Okay.
Ditch those plastic sandwich bags and opt for reusable wraps.
I love those beeswax wraps.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
They're like a natural alternative to cling wrap.
And there are also some great silicone options out there.
Okay, cool.
Super versatile.
And don't forget about farmers markets.
Oh, yes.
That's a great way to get fresh local produce.
Usually with minimal packaging.
Right. And you're supporting local farmers.
And reducing your carbon footprint.
Because it's less transportation.
Exactly. It's a win-win-win.
You know what else can make a big difference? Just buying less stuff.
Oh, that's a big one.
I know, it's easier said than done.
I know.
Especially in our consumer culture.
Right.
But I have to admit, I fall victim to impulse purchases sometimes.
We all do.
And those things often come with so much packaging.
Way too much.
So before you click that add to cart button, take a moment.
Yeah.
Do you really need this?
Could you borrow it from a friend?
Yeah.
Buy it secondhand?
Right.
Maybe you already have something that does the job.
Totally. Sometimes we get so focused on the new and shiny that we forget about the perfectly good things we already own.
Exactly. And when you do need to buy something, choose products with minimal packaging.
Okay.
Or packaging made from recycled materials.
It's all about sending a message to the market.
It is every choice we make as consumers matters.
Okay, so reducing our consumption, choosing reusable options, opting for products with minimal or recycled packaging.
Yeah.
Those are some great starting points.
Definitely.
What about things like composting?
Oh, composting is fantastic.
I've been wanting to start, but it seems a little intimidating.
It can seem daunting at first.
Yeah.
But it's really easier than you might think.
Okay.
There are tons of resources online. Even local workshops you can take.
Oh, cool.
They can teach you the basics.
And you don't necessarily need a big backyard compost pile, right?
Nope, not at all.
I've seen those countertop compost bins.
Yeah, those are great for smaller spaces.
So you can just start small.
Exactly. Start small and see what works best for you.
Right. It's about taking those first steps.
And building momentum.
Okay, so final question on the recycling front.
Archie.
What are some common mistakes people make?
Oh, there are a few.
And how can we avoid them?
Well, one of the most common mistakes is what's called wish cycling.
Wish cycling.
Yeah, you know when you're not sure if something's recyclable, but you toss it in the bin anyway and just hope for the best.
Oh, yeah, I've definitely been guilty of that.
We all have.
Like the recycling guilt trip?
Right, but the problem is,
Yeah.
if it's not truly recyclable in your area, it can actually contaminate the whole batch.
Oh, really?
And send more to the landfill.
So it's better to err on the side of caution.
For sure.
Check those local guidelines.
Definitely rinse out those containers, break down boxes, double check those symbols.
It can make a world of difference.
You really can.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
It's clear that choosing eco-friendly packaging isn't always easy.
Nope.
But with a little knowledge and effort, we can make a positive impact.
Absolutely. And remember, sustainability isn't about achieving perfection.
Right.
It's about progress.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
It's not about feeling guilty.
No.
Or overwhelmed.
It's about making those small changes.
Right.
That can collectively have a big impact.
I love that.
And remember, you're not alone in this journey.
We're all in this together.
We are by sharing knowledge, supporting each other, and advocating for change. We can create a world where even our snack wrappers reflect our commitment to a healthier planet.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you enjoyed this exploration of sustainable packaging.
Yes. And we hope you feel empowered to make a difference.
Until next time, keep diving deep, my friends. Okay, so we were talking about reducing our reliance on all that single-use packaging. And you mentioned reusable containers.
Yeah, those are key.
It seems so obvious, but
easy to forget.
I'm totally guilty of just grabbing the plastic wrap.
Oh, yeah. It's a habit.
Hard to break.
But you'd be surprised how easy it is to switch once you get going.
Yeah, I guess it's just about remembering.
Right. Have those Tupperware containers ready to go.
Yeah, I usually think of them as being just for leftovers. Or like taking lunch to work.
But they can do so much more.
True.
You can take them to the grocery store.
Really?
Fill them up with bulk items like nuts or grains, even spices.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And speaking of grocery shopping, don't forget those farmers markets.
Oh, yeah, farmers markets.
Such a good way to get fresh produce.
So much better than the supermarket.
And usually with way less packaging.
That's true.
Plus, you're supporting local farmers.
Yeah, I love that.
And reducing your carbon footprint with less transportation.
And a win-win-win.
It is.
Okay, so reusable containers, farmers markets.
Check and check.
What other tips do you have?
Well, this one's not really a trick.
Okay.
But it can make a big difference.
I'm intrigued.
Just buy less stuff.
Oh.
I know it's easier said than done.
It really is, especially in our consumer culture where everything's so tempting.
I know, but sometimes we just got to resist.
Yeah, I definitely fall for those impulse purchases.
We all do. But think about it.
Okay.
Before you hit that add to cart button,
Yeah.
do you really need it?
Good question.
Could you borrow it from a friend?
That's true.
Buy it secondhand?
Or maybe I already have something similar.
Exactly.
Yeah, sometimes we get so obsessed with the new and shiny. Right, and we forget.
We already have perfectly good stuff.
Exactly, and then when you do need to buy something,
Inevitably.
look for products with minimal packaging.
Okay.
Or packaging made from recycled materials.
It's all about sending that message.
It is. You're voting with your dollars.
For a greener future.
That's it.
Okay, so reduce our consumption, choose reusable options. Go for products with minimal or recycled packaging.
Those are great starting points.
Definitely. What about composting?
Composting is fantastic.
I've been meaning to start, but
yeah,
it just seems kind of intimidating.
I know it can feel that way at first.
Like, where do we even begin?
But trust me, it's easier than you think.
Okay.
There are tons of resources online these days.
Oh, that's good.
Even local workshops you can take.
Cool.
To learn the basics.
And you don't need a big backyard setup, right?
Nope, not at all.
I've seen those countertop compost bins.
Yeah, those are perfect if you have limited space.
So you could just start small? Exactly. Just start small and figure out what works for you.
Right. Take those baby steps.
And build momentum.
Okay, final question on recycling.
Hit me.
What are some of the big mistakes people make?
Oh, there are definitely a few.
And how can we avoid them?
Well, one of the most common is wish cycling.
Wish cycling?
Yeah, you know, when you're not quite sure if something's recyclable, but you throw it in the bin anyway.
Yeah.
And just hope for the best.
Oh, the recycling guilt trip?
Right. But the problem is, if it's not actually recyclable in your area, it can contaminate the whole batch.
Really?
And end up sending more stuff to the landfill.
So it's better to be safe than sorry.
Definitely double check those local guidelines.
Okay.
Rinse out containers, break down boxes. Really look at those symbols.
It can make a big difference.
It really can.
Well, this has been such a great deep dive.
Glad you enjoyed it.
It's clear that choosing eco-friendly packaging is a journey.
It is, for sure.
But we can make a difference.
Yeah.
So it's not about being perfect.
Nope.
It's about progress and taking those small steps.
Exactly. And you know every choice matters.
Yeah.
And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
We're all in this together.
There's so many people who are passionate about this.
It's true.
Connect with them. Share what you've learned.
Yeah.
Support each other.
We can create the kind of world we want to live in.
That's the goal.
Where even our snack wrappers show our commitment.
To a healthier planet.
Well said. That's a wrap on this episode of The Deep Dive.
Thanks for having me.
We hope you enjoyed this exploration of sustainable packaging.
And remember, every choice makes a difference.
Until next time, keep diving deep.